Something impossible just entered our solar system, and astronomers are freaking out. They call it 3I Atlas, and it's doing things that no natural object should ever be able to do. Imagine a comet that suddenly brightens overnight, then dims without warning. One moment, it's invisible. The next, it's shining like a beacon from deep space. Telescopes across the planet have captured it glowing, shifting colors, and changing directions in ways that make no mathematical sense. At first, scientists assumed it was just another dusty rock wandering in from the void, until the data refused to cooperate. Its light wasn't just reflected, it was being generated, as if the comet itself had its own internal power source, pulsing like a living thing. That's when everything changed. Every expert who looked at it found themselves staring at charts that broke every rule of astrophysics. The brightness patterns didn't match any known comet. The timing didn't fit any known trajectory. And worst of all, the object appeared to be following a planned route, threading perfectly between planetary orbits as though someone had programmed its flight path long before it ever entered our system. For now, scientists are calling it an anomaly, but behind closed doors, some are whispering a different word: technology. Because no one can explain how a natural rock could behave this intelligently, this deliberately, or this precisely. If something this advanced just crossed into our backyard, what does that mean for us? What would you do if you learned an object in space was actually alive or controlled by someone else? Comment your first thought below, but that was only the beginning, because what 3I Atlas did next would make the universe itself look like it had glitched. At first, astronomers thought their instruments were failing. For days, 3I Atlas seemed to flicker between existence and nothingness, its brightness spiking 100-fold, then collapsing into near invisibility. Every telescope pointed at it reported something different. To the naked eye, it was gone. To deep space sensors, it was practically exploding with light. This wasn't just strange, it was impossible. Comets are predictable creatures. They heat up near the sun, vent gases, and glow in slow, graceful arcs. They don't flash like cosmic strobe lights or vanish like ghosts. Yet, 3I Atlas defied every pattern ever recorded. The brightness changes were so violent that even veteran astronomers began to question whether their billion-dollar observatories were malfunctioning. And then came the real kicker. The light wasn't coming from the usual fuzzy tail of dust and vapor. It was coming directly from the object's surface. That's the cosmic equivalent of finding a snowball that somehow glows from the inside. By this point, every space agency on Earth was watching it. NASA, ESA, and even private observatories began pooling data, trying to find a rational explanation, but every theory hit the same wall. No natural object behaves like this. None. The rate of fluctuation, the wavelength shifts, even the thermal readings, all of them screamed artificial interference. Some scientists tried to calm the panic by suggesting it might be an illusion caused by rotation or surface jets, but the numbers didn't add up. The object wasn't spinning fast enough. The gas jets were too weak. Something else was happening, something that made the laws of physics look negotiable. And then, right when researchers thought they'd seen the strangest behavior possible, 3I Atlas fired a beam of light, not away from the sun, as every comet should, but directly toward it. What kind of object breaks physics on purpose? Could this be natural, or are we witnessing something built? Drop your theory below, because the moment that beam appeared, science itself started to panic. When the first images came in from the Hubble Space Telescope, silence filled the control room. On the monitors glowed something that shouldn't exist, a beam of concentrated light firing toward the sun. Every comet ever recorded forms a tail that points away from the sun, pushed by solar wind and radiation. That's one of the universe's oldest, most dependable rules. But 3I Atlas seemed to look at 4 billion years of cosmic behavior and say, no thanks. Astronomers described it as a forward-pointing beam, a luminous thread stretching 10 times longer toward the sun than away from it. To call it weird would be an understatement. This was a comet turning physics inside out. Some called it a cosmic lighthouse, others a stellar defiance signal. Whatever it wasn't random. The beam maintained its shape and focus across millions of miles, as though something were actively stabilizing it. That's when the theories began to spiral. Could chunks of metallic rock be breaking off, reflecting sunlight in impossible ways? Maybe it was a mirage created by electromagnetic interference. But every test failed. For the beam to remain that sharp, that directed, the material would have to be far denser and more durable than anything natural, as if the object were built from engineered alloys instead of frozen dust. Even more disturbing was its consistency. The light didn't scatter or fade, it pulsed with rhythm, a heartbeat in the void. Researchers ran spectral analyses, expecting chaos, but instead they found precision, wavelengths that repeated at perfect intervals, almost like encoded signals. If this were some freak natural event, it was the most coordinated one in cosmic history. But if it wasn't, then someone somewhere had designed it that way. Do you think we're witnessing a new kind of physics or proof of something intelligent out there? Drop your theory below. And just as scientists started to debate the beam, another mystery emerged. The very chemistry of this thing broke the universe's rulebook. Next. If 3I Atlas had only broken the rules of motion and light, scientists might have eventually squeezed it into some extreme physics category. But when they analyzed what it was made of, the universe stopped making sense. Using advanced spectroscopic data from the James Webb Space Telescope, researchers expected the usual comet recipe, mostly frozen water, dust, and a dash of carbon compounds. Instead, they found something out of a nightmare lab experiment. 87% carbon dioxide, 9% carbon monoxide, and barely 4% water. That's not a comet. That's a paradox. Imagine discovering a snowball made entirely of metal and gas. That's 3I Atlas. This strange chemistry doesn't just break the rules, it inverts them. In every known comet, water ice dominates because it's the easiest thing to form in deep space. But this object seems to have been built from materials that shouldn't even coexist naturally. It's like the cosmos itself mixed the wrong ingredients on purpose. Then came the metallic surprise, a strong presence of nickel, but no iron. That might sound minor, but in astronomy, it's like finding twins separated at birth. Nickel and iron always form together. They're inseparable in nature. Yet somehow, 3I Atlas contained pure nickel, completely isolated, as though refined in an industrial process. That single detail made some researchers whisper the word no one wanted to say aloud: manufactured. This wasn't a cosmic coincidence. It was chemistry that looked chosen. Even the carbon monoxide levels were off the charts, forming combinations that simply don't happen in known space environments. One analyst at the European Southern Observatory reportedly muttered, "It's like someone built this thing to confuse us." At this point, conventional science had no explanation left. Every reading pointed toward a pattern, an intentional design hidden behind the chaos. And then, as if on cue, one of Harvard's most controversial minds stepped into the debate and dropped a theory that no one could ignore. When Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb speaks, the scientific world listens, even when his ideas make everyone uncomfortable. He's the same researcher who once suggested that another interstellar visitor, Oumuamua, might have been alien technology. Now he's turning his attention to 3I Atlas. Loeb's theory: this might not be a comet at all. It could be a technological mothership, purposefully entering our solar system to deploy smaller reconnaissance probes, just like human spacecraft release satellites when exploring new worlds. According to Loeb's analysis, the object's sudden bursts of brightness might not be random chemical reactions, but the ignition of controlled systems, launches, power surges, or transmissions. He points out something chilling. Those brightness spikes happen at precise intervals, often when 3I Atlas is near Mars, too perfect to be coincidence. In Loeb's words, this level of synchronization looks more like engineering than nature. Naturally, many scientists dismissed the idea as wild speculation, but the evidence kept piling up. The object's beam of light perfectly focused and stable, its chemical structure unnatural and deliberate, and its path through the solar system so precise it looks pre-programmed. When every natural theory fails, what's left? Some have even begun comparing 3I Atlas's behavior to the way our own probes operate, changing brightness during separation events, altering direction to maintain stability, and using energy bursts for navigation. The similarities are eerie. If Loeb is even partly right, this isn't just a visitor, it's an explorer, one that's been watching us quietly from the cosmic shadows. And here's the part that unsettles everyone the most. If it can plan a trajectory to Mars, it could plan one to Earth. If you found out this object was actually a ship, not a comet, would you want humanity to make contact or stay silent? Comment your answer below. But even Loeb's bold theory couldn't explain one final mystery, the object's navigation, because no natural rock in history has ever flown with this much control. If 3I Atlas were truly a random rock from deep space, its flight path should be chaotic, bouncing between gravitational fields, deflected by planetary poles, swinging in and out of orbits like every other interstellar visitor we've ever tracked. But this one moves with purpose. Its trajectory cuts a clean, perfect line along the flat orbital plane that all our planets share, a razor-straight corridor through the solar system that no natural object should ever follow by chance. Statistically, the odds of this happening randomly are nearly zero. It's like throwing a dart from another galaxy and landing dead center on a moving bullseye. Yet here it is, threading between Earth, Mars, and Jupiter with the precision of a spacecraft piloted by something that understands orbital mechanics better than we do. Astronomers have noticed something even more unsettling. 3I Atlas seems to be making decisions. As it neared Mars, it adjusted its velocity ever so slightly, just enough to swing close enough for optimal observation, but not close enough to risk collision. It's as if it wanted to look at the red planet, but not at us. Every shift in its course seems deliberate, intelligent, calculated for maximum data, minimum attention. If this is coincidence, it's the most organized accident in the history of the cosmos. If it's not, then we may be watching a machine navigate with intent. Some researchers now believe the object's light beam could be more than illumination, possibly a navigation or communication system that allows precise trajectory adjustments using directed energy. Others argue it could be transmitting information back to wherever it came from. But one thing is certain, this object isn't wandering, it's traveling, and it's headed toward a moment that could redefine everything we know about space, a date already circled on every scientist's calendar. Because on October 3rd, 2025, 3I Atlas will pass so close to Mars that humanity might finally see what it really is. Mark the date, October 3rd, 2025. That's when humanity will get its one and only clear look at 3I Atlas, the moment our telescopes, orbiters, and cameras have been waiting for. On that day, the mysterious interstellar visitor will pass closer to Mars than any other planet, giving us the perfect front row seat from our robotic neighbors already circling the red planet. NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter has already been repositioned for the event. Its high-rise camera, capable of capturing details as small as 30 kilometers per pixel, will try to photograph the object's surface. The first time in human history we'll see an interstellar visitor not from Earth, but from another world. Think about that. For the first time ever, a planet other than our own will act as humanity's observatory. If the timing holds, this flyby could answer questions that have haunted scientists for months. Is 3I Atlas really generating light from within? Or is it reflecting the sun's energy using some exotic material we've never encountered? Could those brightness surges be the signatures of technology, engines, emissions, or even communication bursts? Every agency on Earth is preparing. The European Space Agency, JAXA, and private space firms are syncing observation windows. The data gathered that week could change everything, or leave us more confused than ever. Because once 3I Atlas slingshots past Mars, it will drift back into interstellar space, never to return in any human lifetime. This is our only shot. One pass, one glimpse, one truth, and that truth might be bigger than we're ready for. If the images show mechanical structures, geometric panels, or even surface symmetry, it will rewrite not just astronomy, but human history. What do you think we'll see on October 3rd, metal and machinery, or just ice and dust? Share your guess below, because when that data arrives, the entire world will be watching. But what happens afterward might be even more unsettling. So here we are, standing at the edge of understanding, staring into the unknown. 3i Atlas has broken every law of light, chemistry, and motion that humanity once thought unshakable. It glows from within, shoots beams toward the sun, shifts color like it's alive, and flies with the precision of a spacecraft that knows exactly where it's going. And now, as it nears Mars, one truth feels impossible to avoid. This thing might not just be passing through. Every theory that tried to cage it inside normal science has fallen apart. What's left is a question so heavy that even scientists hesitate to say it aloud. Are we being observed? Because if 3i Atlas is artificial, then someone somewhere built it, and that someone knew how to cross the void between stars. Think about the timing. It didn't come charging toward Earth. It positioned itself perfectly, just close enough to watch, just far enough to avoid contact. If that's not coincidence, it's strategy, maybe reconnaissance, maybe curiosity, or maybe a warning. Across labs and observatories, researchers are preparing for the Mars flyby like it's the most important moment in human history. Because whatever those images reveal, natural or not, will define how we see our place in the universe. Either we discover a new kind of physics, or we learn that we were never alone. The real mystery isn't just what 3i Atlas is, but why it came. So what do you think this object truly is? Alien tech, nature's glitch, or something in between? Comment your theory below. And if you love diving into the mysteries that challenge what we know about our universe, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell, because the next discovery might make this one look ordinary. As 3i Atlas fades into the black, one truth remains. Sometimes the scariest thing about the cosmos isn't what we don't know, it's what's quietly watching us back.